Hi, Rainbow Room. This is Miss Maudie. We're starting the Jack and Annie book, number 28, High Tide in Hawaii. Let's start with chapter 1, A Ship. Jack and Annie were sitting on their porch reading books. Jack was reading about gorillas. Annie was reading about pilgrims. Suddenly, Annie closed her book. She looked up into the sunset. "Hey," Annie said with a smile. Jack looked over at her. "It's back," she said, jumping up. "Oh man," breathed Jack. He knew what she was talking about. The magic treehouse. Annie could always tell when it was back. Jack closed his book and stood up. "We're going to the woods," he called through the screen door. "There's something we have to check on. We'll be back before dark," their mom said. "We will," said Jack. He picked up his backpack. Then he and Annie headed across the yard. When they got to the sidewalk, they started running. They ran up their street and into Frog Creek Woods. In the last light of day, they hurried between the trees. Finally, they came to the tallest oak. They held their breath as they looked up. The magic treehouse was back. "Good going," said Jack. "Thanks," said Annie. She started up the ladder. Jack followed. It was nearly dark inside, but the sun-dried wood smelled like a summer day. "What kind of special magic will we look for this time?" said Jack. They glanced around the treehouse. They saw the scrolls they'd brought back from Shakespeare's theater. They saw the twig from the mountain gorillas and the pouch of seeds from the first Thanksgiving. "There," said Annie. She pointed to a book in the corner. A piece of paper was sticking out of it. Jack picked up the book. Then he pulled out the paper and read, "Dear Jack and Annie, good luck on your 4th journey to find a special magic. This secret rhyme will guide you. To find a special magic, build a special kind of ship that rides the waves both high and low on every kind of trip. Thank you, Morgan." Jack looked at Annie. "A ship?" he said. She shrugged. "Yep, I guess we have to build a ship. Where do we go to build it?" She and Jack looked at the book's cover. It showed palm trees, a beach, and a beautiful ocean. The title was A Visit to Old Hawaii. "Oh, wow," said Annie. "I love Hawaii." "How do you know you love it?" Jack asked. "We've never been to Hawaii." "Well, we're going now," said Annie. She pointed at the cover. "We wish to go there." The wind started to blow. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Chapter 2, Aloha. There are Jack and Annie in their magic treehouse, pointing down. Jack opened his eyes. A gentle wind brushed against his skin. It smelled sweet and fresh. Annie looked out the window. "Nice," she said. Jack looked out too. The treehouse had landed on top of a tall palm tree. The palm tree was at the edge of a flowery meadow. On one side of the meadow, a cliff dropped down to the beach and ocean. On the other side of the meadow were the rooftops of a small village. Beyond the village were tall gray mountains. Misty clouds hid their peaks. Waterfalls gushed down their sides. "I told you I loved Hawaii," said Annie. "Don't you?" "Well, I have to learn about it first," said Jack. He pushed his glasses into place and opened their research book. He read aloud, "Hawaii is a chain of islands in the Pacific Ocean. The largest island is Hawaii, which gives its name to the whole group. The islands were formed millions of years ago by volcanoes. The volcanoes erupted under the ocean floor. Over time, their craters rose above the water." "Wow," said Annie. "We're on top of a volcano." "Yeah," said Jack. He read on. "The volcanic rock crumbled, turned to soil. Over millions of years, wind and birds dropped seeds on the islands. Plants and trees began to grow, and birds and insects made their homes." "Cool," said Jack. He took out his notebook and pencil and wrote, "Wind and birds brought seeds." He read some more. "About 2,000 years ago, people first came to Hawaii. They came in canoes from the other islands in the Pacific. They rode for thousands of miles across the ocean, guided only by the wind and stars." "Hey, listen," said Annie. Jack put down the book and listened. Sounds of music and laughter floated on the breeze. "There must be a party in that village," said Annie. "Let's go." What about building the ship? Asked Jack. We'll figure that out later, said Annie. Let's meet some people at the party. Maybe they can help us. She started down the ladder. Jack heard a whoop of laughter in the distance. The party does sound fun, he thought. He packed up his things and followed Annie down to the ground. The sun was low in the sky. They walked through the meadow toward the village. Everything was bathed in golden red glow. Oh man, breathed Jack. There was beauty everywhere. Purple flowers shaped like bells, white flowers that looked like stars, tall feathery ferns, green spiky plants, big orange and black butterflies, and tiny yellow birds. When they got close to the village, they saw an open area filled with people. Jack and Annie slipped behind a palm tree. They peeked out at the party. There were about 50 people, including grown-ups, teenagers, and little kids. They were all barefoot and wore wreaths of flowers around their necks. A woman was chanting. Her words rose and fell like waves. She chanted about a volcano goddess named Pele. While she chanted, other people played music. Some blew on pipes that looked like flutes. Others shook gourds that sounded like baby rattles. Some hit sticks together to make clicking sounds. Most of the villagers were dancing to the music. They stepped from side to side. They swayed their hips and waved their hands. They're doing the hula, whispered Annie. She smiled and waved her hands too. Don't get carried away, whispered Jack. He took out their notebook and found a picture of Hawaiians dancing. He read, "The early Hawaiians had no written language. They told story with hula. Dancing the hula is a blend of dancing and chanting poetry." Jack pulled out his notebook. He started a list about Hawaii. No written language, stories with hula. Suddenly, Jack heard loud laughter and clapping. He looked up. Annie was gone. Jack peeked out from behind the tree. Annie was doing the hula with the dancers, but no one seemed surprised. Everyone just smiled at her as they kept dancing. A girl caught sight of Jack. She looked about Annie's age. She had long, shiny black hair and a big, friendly smile. "Come to the hula," she called to him. "No way," Jack breathed. He slipped behind the tree again, but the girl danced over to him and took his hand. "Join us," she said. No thanks," said Jack. The girl didn't let go. She pulled Jack into the open. The music got louder. The dancer and musicians nodded and smiled at Jack. Jack stood still. He didn't know how to do any kind of dance, let alone the hula. He stared at the ground, clutching his backpack and notebook until the music and dancing ended. The Hawaiians gathered around Jack and Annie. They all had friendly, open faces. There's Annie dancing. "Who are you?" the young girl asked. "I'm Annie," said Annie. "This is my brother Jack." "I'm Kama," the girl said. "This is my brother Boka." She pointed to a boy in the crowd who looked about Jack's age. The boy stepped forward. He grinned a big grin, just like his sister's. He pulled off his wreath of red fluffy flowers. He put it around Annie's neck. "A lei to welcome you," Boka said. Kama then pulled off her lei and put it around Jack's neck. "Aloha, Jack and Annie," everyone said. All right, next time you hear me, we'll be reading chapters 3 and 4. Till next time, adios, amigos.